Some Ford features look harmless, a few even look smart, but after 20 years under the hood, I've watched these same upgrades ruin engines, cook transmissions, and destroy reliability of trucks that should have gone another 150,000 miles. I'm RJ. I've worked on everything from old 4.0 Rangers to brand new F-150s. And I can tell you this, Ford doesn't fail from age, but from a handful of stupid features that destroy your Ford's lifespan. Today, I'll show you the worst ones and how to avoid the repair bills that follow. Let's start with the dual-clutch, dry-clutch transmission, which is a Ford feature that you might not expect to damage your Ford. This was primarily used in the 2011 to 2016 Ford Fiesta and the 2012 to 2016 Focus. You might recognize it as DPS6 Power Shift, or simply Ford's dual-clutch setup. Instead of a traditional automatic with a torque converter, this uses two dry clutches to improve efficiency and shift speed. Sounds good on paper, right? But here's the trouble. The dry clutches tend to overheat, glaze, slip, and fail prematurely. Many of my customers have complained about other features of the transmission, saying that their car slips from the top, goes into neutral randomly, or jerks on 1-2 upshifts. It's a well-documented design flaw in the power shift transmissions that led to massive lawsuits and extended warranties. I call it one of Ford's biggest failures in the last 20 years. I've pulled in Fiestas and Focuses at 60,000 miles where the clutch pack is already slipping badly, or the transmission control module has given up. One of my customers had to spend over $10,000 for a dealer replacement when their car suddenly died on the road. I always tell folks, if you notice your Fiesta or Focus shuddering from a stop, hesitation when accelerating, or random limp mode where the transmission refuses to shift correctly, your dual-clutch transmission is acting up. If you've already got a Ford with this dual-clutch transmission, then you should stay on top of the maintenance. Follow fluid and service intervals, even if the manufacturer says the fluid can last for a lifetime. Avoid towing or carrying loads that are heavier than your transmission can handle, and monitor how the car behaves. Get your car scanned, keep records of any repairs, and ask your mechanic about TSBs. If you stay on top of basic fluid changes and scans and maybe opt for a minor clutch pack rebuild, you might spend about $500. But if your dual-clutch transmission fails, you can spend over $10,000 in repairs. It's much better to spend a few hundred now than thousands later on. At number 2, if there's one feature I hate the most about certain Fords, it's the early My Ford Touch infotainment system. My Ford Touch was Ford's big bet. It promised to integrate everything like radio, navigation, climate, backup camera, and even vehicle functions into one touchscreen system. But in practice, the early versions were a minefield. I've seen several F-150s, Edge SUVs, and even older Ford Mustang or Escape models where the entire dash went dark, the camera quit working, and the battery drained overnight because the My Ford system never shut down properly. Some of my customers have complained about freeze-ups where their screen went black on them for minutes or hours. Then a couple of months later, their car's battery died. Some modules keep drawing power when the ignition is off, leaving the battery dead in the morning. The backup camera might also stop working, which is a big problem in a big truck. The early Sync 2 My Ford Touch system in your Ford is pretty sensitive. When one part fails, everything linked to the touchscreen or voice control can stop. Ford bundles so many features into My Ford Touch that it's not just about losing your radio or navigation. You might also lose the climate control, backup camera, seat memory, and maybe even your gear shift display. If you own a Ford with My Ford Touch, check the model years first. Early 2011 to 2013 models have the heaviest complaints. It's important to note that later Sync 3 systems, 2016 and on, are far more reliable. Also, check the battery health because the infotainment system can drain your battery. If you notice any warning signs like a screen freeze, odd power drains, or climate or camera failure, you should check the battery and fuses or just reset the entire system. In many cases, replacing the module or a failed unit costs about $2,000. But if you catch the problem early, especially with battery draw, you might spend $300 in diagnostics and battery service. Early My Ford Touch seems like a luxury gadget, but it's actually a reliability threat. especially for your battery. One stupid feature that has given me a lot of trouble in working on some Fords is the wet belt timing system that you might find exclusively in the 1-liter 3-cylinder EcoBoost. Ford designed the 1.0-liter EcoBoost with a wet belt, which is a timing belt that runs inside the engine oil, instead of a dry belt or a timing chain that you can easily access. The idea seemed decent as it's quieter, it's more efficient, it has fewer moving parts, but with many of these specific engines I've seen, this design has major drawbacks. The belt lives in oil, full time. If the oil gets dirty, contaminated, or is of the wrong spec, the rubber belt starts to degrade. That's why I always tell my customers that if the Ford has this particular 1.0-liter engine with a wet belt, you shouldn't buy it. When the belt degrades, rubber particles get into the oil and clog the oil pickup. This affects oil pressure and starves the bearings. And before you know it, you end up with engine failure. I've seen a Ford with this engine come in with low oil pressure, and once I pulled the oil pan, there was sludge and bits of belt material blocking the pickup. Imagine the owner's face when he found out that he needed a rebuild. If you own one of these specific engines with the 1.0 EcoBoost wet belt, don't assume that you can wait a long time before servicing it. Ford might say you should wait until 150,000 miles, but let me tell you, the best thing is to replace it at 100,000 miles or sooner, like 60,000 miles, to be safe. Use the correct spec oil and change the oil at short, regular intervals. You should also inspect for odd noises and look out for oil pressure warning lights. Whenever there's a misfire, check compression. What's worse is that when the belt service comes up, it's labor-intensive, so you might spend more than with a dry belt or timing chain. If you already have this kind of engine, then you should use good oil and focus on maintenance. This might cost you a few $100s per year, but for a replacement, you're spending $2,800 just for a new wet belt. Even worse, a full engine swap or rebuild will double or triple that cost. Number 4 might shock you, but did you know that the keyless entry module can sometimes be a source of major headaches in your Ford? I've pulled trucks and SUVs into my shop where this very module killed the battery, stranded owners, and set off a chain of costly electrical repairs. This is a common issue across many brands, but I've seen my share of Fords with it. Look, keyless entry sounds great. You walk up, press a button on your door handle or your fob, and the car unlocks. You can start with a push button. But in some Ford models, like certain F-150s, Edges, Explorers, or Escapes, the remote entry module, or RF receiver, doesn't always go to sleep when the car is parked. Instead, it stays awake and draws current. And before you know it, your battery is dead. I've seen Fords where the owner walked out the next morning, key in pocket, and the car wouldn't start because the battery died overnight. One of my customers owned a 2011 Ford Edge, and when we monitored the current draw, it was spiking periodically. After locking the car, it pulled about 2 amps every 90 seconds. And it was because of the keyless module. When a car keeps the RF module awake, that creates other issues. A drained battery can lead to low voltage, which confuses other modules like the engine and transmission controls. It leaves you stranded, and you know how expensive a tow and a new battery can be. Just imagine your 2018 F-150 battery dropping from 100% to 0% in a couple of days. That's definitely not normal. But my customer ended up with just that. This is all because the module never properly went to sleep. This sucks because most Fords use a key fob, so you never know when you could have to deal with this annoying problem. First, monitor the battery health and voltage. If you leave the car for a weekend and find a weak battery or a car that won't start, it might be a parasitic draw. Use a clamp meter. Or if you're not comfortable with DIY, ask a mechanic to check the battery current draw after the car is off and locked. If the cause is the keyless module, pulling its fuse temporarily might help. Then, ask your mechanic about any software updates or recalls for the system. Your battery and alternator need to be strong, because a weak battery can get damaged even faster. DIYers should have a fuse puller, a digital multimeter or clamp meter, and a basic socket set, and set aside about an hour to check the draw. But I always recommend getting help from a mechanic instead of doing it yourself. If you're finding this useful, hit that like button. It helps the channel a lot. At number 5, let's talk about one of the fancy features that can be problematic in any vehicle, including Fords: the glass or panoramic roof. On paper, a panoramic roof adds light an open sky feeling, that nice ride vibe. But in reality, they bring weight, complexity, and a host of potential weak points. They add heavy glass panels, seals, drainage channels, moving parts, and a cutout in what's meant to be a solid roof. I've seen Fords with a glass or panoramic roof that end up with a lot of problems, like leaks, water intrusion, damaged headliners, rotten carpets, mold, rust, and even electronical or structural problems when water reaches wiring or metal parts. One of my customers who used a panoramic roof ended up with water in the boot and cargo areas after the rain. This eventually led to rust under the glass because water was sitting trapped and draining poorly. Another time, a customer who used a 2015 F-150 Lariat said the first time they drove through a car wash with their Ford, the roof leaked so badly because of clogged water drains and failed seals. What's funny is they took it to the dealer, and the dealer told them the roof was working as designed. I've seen cars come into my shop where the leak was subtle, but weeks later they ended up with damaged wiring or mildew under the seats. That's the kind of damage that sneaks up and destroys a perfectly good Ford from the inside out. So, if you own a Ford with a panoramic or glass roof, don't treat it as a set-and-forget feature. Check the drains regularly, as most roofs rely on drain tubes at the corners. And if those get clogged with leaves, dirt, or debris, water will build up. Also inspect the rubber seals around the roof glass for cracks or hardening, as the seals degrade with time and heat, especially in harsh climates or under strong sun. You don't want your glass roof to collapse right over you. Make sure the motors or tracks operate smoothly, and if you notice any smell or water stains, act immediately. Regular cleaning of the drains can prevent this, because if you don't, you might spend over $3,000 depending on how bad the damage gets. That's much worse than skipping the fancy roof option in the first place. Another stupid Ford feature that can leave your car crippled is the Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. This isn't just a Ford thing, it's an industry-wide challenge, but I've seen many Fords break down because these systems failed. The ADAS has things like lane keeping assist, automatic high beams, adaptive cruise, and blind spot alerts. It sounds great, and on certain Fords it promises safety and convenience. But the more automation you stack on a vehicle, the more risky it is. I've seen a lot of Fords end up with sensor or module failure. One of my customers complained that after replacing their batteries, the driver assist features simply stopped working. There were no warning lights and absolutely nothing on the dashboard. The features were toggled on, but the system wouldn't wake up. Another time, a customer with an F-150 truck complained that his lane keep assist icon flickered at startup, but would go away as soon as he hit the road. Sometimes Ford trucks came in because the owner thought the computer was glitchy, but under the hood it was much more serious. We found front camera module failure, wiring harness damage, and module calibration issues. If your ADAS has any fault, software bug, or if a component doesn't power down correctly, it can drain the battery completely. If ADAS starts acting up in your Ford, check for anything that might be obstructing the sensor, like dirt, mud, road salt, ice, or even a smear on the windshield. If that doesn't fix it, then ask your mechanic for a proper ADAS diagnostic scan. Many faults don't trigger a check engine light, but modules will self-report trouble codes. In a case like this, a simple camera recalibration might bring things back to normal. If wiring or a camera is damaged, replace it. It's not a cheap fix, but it's better than driving blind. Cleaning sensors, checking wiring, and performing calibration might cost a couple of $100, but if a component goes wrong, you might spend over $2,000, depending on parts and labor. I don't know which Ford engineer signed off on cramped engine bays, but it's definitely one of the frustrating features that affect modern vehicles. A tight engine bay sounds like it's no big deal. You have a little extra packaging and less empty space under the hood. But in many modern Fords, especially recent trucks and SUVs with bigger engines or turbo setups, that extra packaging means there's less room for work. Some of my customers tried to do a simple repair on their Ford and cursed the layout, eventually bringing it into the shop. The cramped design makes it much harder to make any repairs, not to mention routine maintenance. Now you see why I don't like this stupid feature. I've seen too many good Fords come in for what should have been a 30-minute job, but we end up with a lot of labor time because these bolts are buried, Manifolds block access, and the wires and hoses are jammed behind the tight corners. In one F-150 with a modern EcoBoost V6, replacing something as simple as an alternator required removing support braces, dropping cross members, and disconnecting wiring harnesses. That's at least an extra 4 to 5 hours of labor compared with older, roomier designs. So your $200 repair turns into a $700 job. Tighter engine bays also trap heat and reduce airflow in some spots. When components are squeezed together like turbo pipes, coolant hoses, and wiring, the extra heat and vibration can accelerate wear or cause failures earlier than expected. I've seen Fords where neglected heat buildup caused intake manifold gasket leaks. If you own a Ford with a cramped engine bay, I always tell people at the shop to consider having a mechanic do the work. If you do it yourself, you might run into trouble. Maintaining it might cost more than a normal engine, but if you ignore it, like leaving a leak or a loose hose ring too long because the access was tough, that $600 bill can balloon into a $2,000+ engine job later. And finally, another stupid feature in Fords that a lot of models have is the turbocharging. This can quickly turn into a reliability nightmare when ignored or mistreated, especially with EcoBoost-equipped Fords. Now, turbocharging itself isn't stupid. It provides great power and efficiency, but neglecting it is. Turbocharging gives you power and fuel efficiency in a neat package, but that extra heat, pressure, and complexity comes with strings attached. If you don't treat the engine like the performance machine it is under stress, you could be inviting serious trouble. The turbo itself is a high-speed, high-heat component that relies heavily on pristine oil flow to keep bearings and seals alive. If you skip regular oil changes, or if you use cheap or wrong oil, the turbo bearings or seals wear out fast. Before you know it, you're dealing with oil leaks, loss of boost, smoke from exhaust, and even worse, total turbo failure. On top of that, many direct-engine EcoBoost engines suffer from carbon buildup on intake valves because the fuel doesn't wash over them. Over time, airflow gets choked off, causing rough idle, loss of power, and misfires. Even if your turbo doesn't fail, the supporting components like exhaust manifolds, gaskets, intercoolers, and cooling systems are under more heat and stress. On hot days or under heavy load, all that extra heat needs reliable cooling. I've seen many turbocharged Fords where the cooling system became overwhelmed, leading to coolant leaks, overheating, and even cracked manifolds or warped heads. Take one of my customers with a 3.5-liter EcoBoost in an F-150. It started showing low oil pressure and boost loss at 120,000 miles. By the time the owner brought it in, the turbo seals were shot, the oil was contaminated, and the repair quote was over $3,500, just for the turbo and related parts. So, if you own a turbocharged Ford, use fully synthetic oil meeting Ford specs, change it frequently, and use a high-quality oil filter. Also, monitor the cooling system health by staying on top of coolant changes, watching for leaks, and making sure the radiator and intercooler are clean. These Ford features are meant to add value to your vehicle, but sometimes they bring more trouble instead. If you already have these features on your Ford, focus on regular and proactive maintenance. If you want more real advice for Ford owners, make sure to subscribe. And check out my next video where I share things I wish I knew before buying a Ford F-150.